Tonight on Y News, authorities tighten security measures in Metro Manila following the jail transfer of Kayamora Maute and other Maute group members to Camp Bagong Diwa. The Philippine National Police sets to reveal sanctions against the security service provider of Resorts World Manila tomorrow. Overseas Filipino worker advocates urge the revival of the OFW preparedness team amid diplomatic row in the Middle East.
BPI assures depositors that accounts are safe while it deactivates electronic channels due to system error. Meralco announces power rate reduction this month.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News.
Good evening. The Philippine National Police will intensify security measures around Metro Manila, particularly in checkpoints. Maki Libradilla explains why.
Kayamora Maute, the father of Maute brothers Abdullah and Omar, together with other arrested members of the Maute clan, have arrived at Camp Bagong Diwa early dawn this morning. They are now detained inside the camp's Special Intensive Care Area or SICA-1 along with other high-profile inmates who are members of Abu Sayyaf, MNLF and MILF groups. NCRPO Chief Police Director Oscar Albayalde asked the Maute brothers not to harm their hostages and promised to treat their father and relatives well.
They should think twice before they hurt anybody there dun sa Marawi, no? Kung tayo napagbibigyan natin at nabibigay natin lahat ng tulong at ayuda dun sa kanilang mga kamag-anak, I think ganyan din naman ang i-extend nila dahil sa mga kababayan nating mga naiipit dun sa gera dun sa Marawi.
The NCRPO chief says the facility has doctors, surgeon, and dentist who will attend to Kayamora should he needs medical attention. Albayalde says should the Maute elder needs hospital treatment, they will allow it. Meanwhile, residents in Metro Manila express concern over the transfer of the father of Maute brothers here in Metro Manila.
Kasi siyempre natatakot. Maraming tao dito sa sa Maynila. Maraming madadamay pa.
Siguro yun, delikado sa mga sibilyan. Pero kung hindi naman tayo pababayaan ng gobyerno natin
The PNP says there is no report yet of any terror threat, but to make sure they will intensify their security patrols around Metro Manila. The PNP also added sentinels and members of the Special Action Force around Camp Bagong Diwa.
Sa ngayon sa Metro Manila, wala tayong Maute threat dito sa Metro Manila. Hindi natin pwedeng take for granted yan na nandito yung tatay, no? Magulang. Kaya nga meron tayong adjustment na gagawin sa ating security measures, security protocols na dito sa buong kampo. Not only here, no? Probably in the whole Metro Manila. Paigtingin natin yung monitoring natin, yung intelligence monitoring natin, lalong-lalo na sa mga critical areas.
Albayalde added that relatives are allowed to visit the detainees, however, under tight security. Maki Libradilla, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Bagong Diwa.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines cites the reasons why Kayamora Maute needs to be transferred to a Metro Manila detention facility. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines explains that the Maute terror group has been accustomed to rescue their arrested members. This is the reason why the military decided to transfer the father of the wanted Maute brothers and founder of Maute Group, Kayamora Maute, from Davao City to Metro Manila.
It is for security reasons that he was transferred. He's considered as a high-value individual and at the same time high-risk individual also. That's why we opted to transfer him to Manila.
The military also does not deny the possibility of retaliation by the Maute Group, and the military and police assure that government forces are ready at all times, not only in Mindanao but also here in Metro Manila. It has been known that Kayamora is also the primary financier and supporter of the Maute brothers.
We're also prepared for in the event of retaliatory or diversionary attacks here in the area of Eastern Mindanao. We cannot discount the risk wherever he is. Nandun pa rin yan because we know how the Maute group operates. And ito nga ang pinaghahandaan natin ng ating security forces.
However, because of reports that Kayamora has been out of Marawi City during the first days of the conflict, the military says it is likely possible that some Maute members have also gone their way out of the city.
At the very start, we haven't plugged yet all the exits of Marawi, and it is possible that some may have exited Marawi before the incident escalated.
However, based on reports received by AFP, Isnilon Hapilon, the emir or the leader of the ISIS in the Philippines, is still in Marawi City. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines will conduct a more aggressive pursuit operation against members of the Maute terrorist group and their supporters, following the issuance of arrest order by the martial law administrator against the militants. Roby de Guzman tells us why.
Martial Law Administrator Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana releases 2 arrest orders against members of the Maute terrorist group and their supporters. This prompted the Armed Forces of the Philippines to intensify its pursuit of the bandits.
Yes, we'll be very aggressive and proactive in this. Those listed in arrest order. Number 1, there were 2 arrest orders already issued by the martial law administrator.
Since the declaration of martial law in Mindanao, more than 2,600 checkpoints have already been set up by the military in eastern Mindanao. They also conducted more than 1,000 security patrols and already intensified maritime patrols to prevent terrorists from entering the region via seas. Curfews are also in place in areas covered by the Eastern Mindanao Command. Meanwhile, authorities are monitoring the newly established Peace Corridor to prevent Maute members from using it as an escape route. The government and MILF-built Peace Corridor serves as a safe passage for fleeing residents and for the delivery of relief assistance of the conflict-affected Maranaos.
You have to make sure na yung agreement is advantageous to everybody, no? Hindi lang government, the military, and to the Maute, but also to the civilians. Marami kang considerations when you're doing that. There's always a possibility for escape.
The Peace Panel is looking into the possibility of setting up more peace corridors near Marawi City. Roby de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines confirms the alliance between Abu Sayyaf Group and Maute terrorist group to sow terror in Marawi City in a move to establish an Islamic State in the country. Victor Cosare explains why.
And our presumption and our analysts say that this is in compliance to the last requirement that they would like to have regarding their attempt to get recognition from the bigger group Daesh.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines released a video showing leaders of Maute and Abu Sayyaf groups in a secret meeting. Seated at the table was Isnilon Hapilon, the leader of the Abu Sayyaf rebel group who was proclaimed by Islamic State last year as its emir of Southeast Asia. Also with him were Maute brothers Abdullah and Omar of the Maute terror group. The footage shows the men inside a room discussing how they would take hostages from a school, seal off roads, and capture a highway into the lakeside town. The video verifies that Hapilon has formed an alliance with the Maute group and at least 2 other factions to rally behind the radical ISIS. It also proves that Hapilon is not dead, contrary to earlier reports that he was killed in an encounter in Butig, Lanao del Sur.
So, in essence, what we have discovered proves earlier findings that the presence of Hapilon and his cohorts in Marawi was not only because of wanting to seek treatment for an illness or to be there to connect with other terrorist elements, but was actually a prelude to a bigger event that I just described.
Hapilon is on Washington's list of most wanted terrorists and has a $5 million bounty on his head. On Monday, President Duterte offered a 10 million peso reward money for his capture and 5 million each for the Maute brothers. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines. A lady inmate who managed to escape the Marawi City Jail with the help of the Maute group surrendered to the authorities today. Grace Casin tells us why.
After days of hiding, Jeanine Pirromundo appeared before the provincial capital of Lanao del Sur to voluntarily surrender. Pirromundo is just one of more than 100 inmates of Marawi City Jail who were able to escape after members of Maute terrorist group bolted them out. Jeanine is just one of the 6 inmates recovered by the authorities 2 weeks after they got out of prison.
Nakita ko lang silang sir dito na dumaan sila dito. Papuntahin man sana ako ng asawa ko sa Iligan tapos na hindi ako pumunta doon kasi na alam ko din na wanted ako na tapos kapag ma-peaceful to na makabalik din kami sa kuan.
Marawi City Jail Warden Inspector Ali Makatanong says manhunt operations for the other escapees are ongoing. Meanwhile, Jail Senior Superintendent Mamerto De Loro, the Regional Director of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology in the ARMM, is not discounting the possibility that other inmates have joined the Maute terrorist group. Meanwhile, Pirromundo will be brought to Iligan City and will be detained at the Iligan City Jail. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Senator Aquino sees the move implicating the opposition lawmakers in the Maute group's attack in Marawi City as part of the administration's political ploy. Nel Maybohok explains why.
Just a political maneuvering. This is how Senator Aquino sees the administration's move implicating him in the alleged destabilization against the Duterte government.
Hindi naman po sikreto na meron talagang move to really implicate the opposition senators or those who have been dissenting on some of the issues of the administration.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre, however, clarifies that he was misquoted on the said issue. He further denies having stated that several lawmakers met with the Alontos and Lucmans 2 weeks before the attack on Marawi City. Aguirre nevertheless apologized to Senator Aquino, who insists that the secretary should instead issue a public apology.
So he backtracked at sabi ho niya that again he was confused by the number of reports po na pumasok and he apologized, and I said, please clarify this tomorrow publicly. Kasi sa publiko mo rin to inihayag, kailangan sa publiko mo rin tong i-correct. At pumayag naman po siya.
Senator Panfilo Lacson, on the other hand, advised the Secretary to be more careful in his statements.
Kasi siyempre, pagka may sinabi ang Secretary of Justice, dapat verifikado. Dapat i-fact check mo.
Meanwhile, Malacanang assures that Aguirre still enjoys the President's confidence.
He has the full trust of the President. He has been doing an excellent job, actually, in the DOJ. However, there are certain things that he has, for example, these are all part of his process, and so we defer to him.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines Joint Task Force Zamboanga denies the alleged remiss in the security measures in some checkpoint areas in the region. Monokson will tell us why.
The AFP Joint Task Force Zamboanga clarifies the seeming slack security inspection undertaken in the checkpoint areas in the region. Captain Ariel Lobusta, the Civil Military Operations Officer of the Joint Task Force Zamboanga, says there is a scheme that they observe in implementing security inspection in the checkpoint areas. If a certain vehicle doesn't get inspected, it doesn't automatically mean that the military is remiss in their duties. He adds that they are using various schemes every day to avoid getting outwit by the lawless elements.
May pattern na hindi namin specifically sinasabi. No? Hindi namin pwedeng hayaan na mag-clog lahat ng vehicles sa isang checkpoint.
Although they experience inconvenience in their travel time, drivers and passengers, on the other hand, welcome the strict implementation of checkpoint inspections in Mindanao. They believe that the checkpoint inspections will prevent extortion practices on public buses, which are easy targets of lawless elements. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Supreme Court will consolidate two petitions which seek to compel the Senate and House of Representatives to convene in a joint session and scrutinize the factual basis of the martial law declaration in Mindanao. The first mandamus petition was filed on Tuesday by a group led by Senator Laila de Lima, while the second petition was filed yesterday by a group of former Senator Wigberto Bobby Tañada. Supreme Court spokesperson Attorney Duterte says the mandamus petitions will be treated separately from the petition filed by 7 congressmen, which seeks to nullify President Rodrigo Duterte's martial law declaration. The Bangsamoro Transition Commission targets to submit to President Rodrigo Duterte the final draft of the Bangsamoro Basic Law this month. Rosalie Cost tells us why.
The chair of the government implementing panel for the Bangsamoro Peace Accords, Irene Santiago, announces today that the Bangsamoro Transition Commission has completed the draft of the Bangsamoro Basic Law. The BTC targets to submit the final draft to the Office of the President next week, either on June 13 or 14. The BBL will be the basis for the establishment of the Bangsamoro entity that will replace the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. It will also set the division of the resources and power between the government and the Bangsamoro and end the decades-long violence in Mindanao.
The Bangsamoro Transition Commission approved the final draft of the Bangsamoro Basic Law on Tuesday, June 6.
Santiago says the BTC used as basis the first draft version of BBL that was rejected by the Congress because of the Mama Sapano clash in which 44 personnel of PNP Special Action Force were killed. However, Santiago says the latest version is now complete and is more inclusive since it also covers the concern of all parties like that of the Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF.
The Bangsamoro Transition Commission used the PPL as the basic document for the draft that they made. But I believe, I haven't seen this one, but I've had some briefings. I think this is an even better version.
President Rodrigo Duterte targets to submit the final BBL draft to Congress in July before or after his State of the Nation address or SONA. Santiago is confident that the president will declare it as a priority bill. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Next on Y News. The PNP Crime Laboratory autopsy report reveals no gunshot wounds in the bodies of the victims in the Resorts World attack.
And Meralco consumers to expect cut in electricity bills this month.
Y News will be right back. The bodies of the victims in the Resorts World Manila attack did not sustain gunshot wounds. The autopsy report released by the PNP Crime Laboratory confirms the fatalities died of suffocation. The police, however, saw wounds and abrasions in the dead bodies of the victims.
Based on our autopsies and the rest of the autopsies done by our medical legal officers, there are none. Wala pong gunshot wounds.
All died of
asphyxia by suffocation.
The PNP Supervisory Office for Security and Investigation Agencies is set to release tomorrow the result of their investigation, including the sanctions to be imposed against the security provider of the Resorts World Manila. Grace Casin tells us why.
PNP Social Deputy Chief Police Senior Superintendent LD Brandy Usana said they already have identified violations committed by NC Lanting security specialist, the security provider of Resorts World Manila, during the attack that happened on June 2. The violations included trimming of personnel assigned on graveyard shifts, lack of emergency response team, as well as command and control and crisis management teams. These are clear violations of security guidelines and procedure.
With the lapses that may have been committed na by the agency concerned, in this case the NC Lanting, there might be probable cause that would lead to the sanctions that may be imposed by SOSYA itself.
It will be known tomorrow if the security agency will face revocation of license or it will just be asked to pay 50,000 peso fine. PNP SOSYA will urge the Congress to amend the private security agency law in order to have authority to direct penalizing airing security service providers. The police unit also pushes for security codes and a centralized agency that will handle all security service providers in the country.
The ending private security dapat nasa SOSYA pero wala sa mandato pa rin namin ang hotel, mall, and resort security management.
Bakit?
Because the law says so. Yung RA 5487, 1969 pa.
Meanwhile, PNP Crime Lab confirms that the charred body found inside the 5th floor of the Maxim's Hotel was indeed that of Jesse Carlos.
The DNA profile obtained from the muscle tissue taken from the unidentified male cadaver is consistent with having come from an offspring of Ferdinand P. Carlos and Teodora J. Carlos. That's the conclusion. The probability of parentage for the case is 99.99%.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Department of Justice, or DOJ, has downgraded to homicide the case filed against police officers led by Superintendent Marvin Marcos. The case is in connection with the killing of Albuera Mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr. and an inmate inside the Baybay Sub-Provincial Jail last November 2016. The DOJ issued a ruling in response to the motion filed by the accused asking for the reversal of the resolution of the 5-man panel of prosecutors in Manila. The DOJ's basis for downgrading the case against the policeman from murder to homicide remains unclear.
The ex-OFW party list has asked the government to revive the so-called preparedness team that would monitor the condition of Filipinos working in the Middle East. Monokson explains why.
Overseas workers Alfred and Apolinar are saving money so they could go back home to the Philippines from Qatar. They said the situation now in Qatar is unpredictable after Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other Arab states cut their diplomatic ties with the tiny Gulf state for allegedly supporting extremism. Although they are earning huge sums of money, they would rather stay in the Philippines with their families.
The time na napunta ako dito sa ibang bansa, iniisip ko kaagad na hindi ako magtatagal dito, ayokong tumagal.
May malaki nga po ang tao dito, may kagat, sa palitan po ng pera natin. Kaso po, yung gastusin din po, ganun din po. Ganun din po ang resulta. Ayun po yung pinakamahirap po doon kasi ang mapalayo po sa pamilya.
Alfred and Apolinar are among the more than 2 million OFWs the Philippine government worries about every time a crisis arises in the said country. Because of this, the ex-OFW party list calls for the revival of the Middle East Preparedness Team, or MEPT, that was then led by now DNR Secretary Roy Cimatu. For OFW party list Aniceto Bertiz III, MEPT would help the government to effectively monitor the situation in the Middle East. Bertiz notes the group had even helped prevent OFWs from being stranded in Libya during the time it was facing a crisis.
Kasi nga hindi pa rin is stable ang Middle East, di ba? Nandiyan pa rin ang conflict ng Syria, ng Libya, ng Egypt. Tapos andyan pa rin yung continuous pa rin ang labanan sa Yemen, sa border. So dapat meron talaga tayong Middle East Preparedness team na magbubuo niyan.
The lawmaker says whoever will lead the preparedness team should have wide knowledge on the geopolitics of Middle East like Cimatu.
Pero malaking bagay din kasi ang naging papel ni Ambassador Cimatu para sa mga conflict dyan. Kaya nga dapat kung magtatalaga tayo ng MEPT, dapat yung talagang someone like General Cimatu kasi nga very knowledgeable siya sa Middle East. At pati sa mga conflict area, preparations na dapat may experience din in terms of mass repatriations.
The party list is also pushing for the creation of a new department that will be called the Department of Migration and Development. The bill on the proposed new department has already passed the committee level in Congress and is expected to be among the priority bill President Duterte will mention in his second SONA in July. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
A policy research and advocacy organization says the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, acted hastily in announcing a suspension in the deployment of overseas Filipino workers to Qatar. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Lilac Center, led by former DOLE Undersecretary Nicon Fameronag, says the Labor Department should have considered first the effect of its decision and the possible reaction of the Qatari government. It also knows that it would also affect Filipino workers wishing to go back the country for a vacation, and even those having a vacation here and planning to return soon to Qatar.
Itong move na ito ni Secretary Bello was not coordinated with the DFA. Because if there was, then they should have made the right step na i-convene muna yung board. Kasi alam mo yung pag-a-announce ng mga suspension ng deployment and bans, ang daming apektado niyan.
Fameronag further says the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA should be the one to implement bans or suspensions of travel or deployment to other countries experiencing crisis.
Ang DFA who makes the assessment and also issues the alert level signals, forward this kind of evaluation and assessment to the Department of Labor and Employment. And the governing board should deliberate on it. And then they issue a resolution. Then they can announce the policy. Hindi nasunod yun.
There has also been neglect on the part of the Labor Attaché and Embassy of the Philippines in Qatar. The ex-OFW party list also believes the DOLE acted hastily by implementing the said suspension.
Ang iniiwasan natin dito is yung ating diplomatic relationship na inabandon ng 6 na bansa ang Qatar, tapos tayo yung unang Asian country na biglang nag-declare din ng suspension ng deployment.
The Qatari government has initially given assurance that OFWs in the tiny Gulf state remain safe. One of them is Lando Formentera, who says the situation in the country is still normal.
Wala naman pong nabago dito sa amin, sa kumpanya. Lagi na pong ang pinag-uusapan ay trabaho lang. Wala namang patungkol sa crisis na binabanggit ng iba. Sa unang araw lang po nangyari yung panic buying. Sa ikalawang araw, normal na po, bumalik na po yung normal na sitwasyon.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The social media continues to heat up with complaints from depositors of following glitches in the system of the Bank of the Philippine Islands or BPI. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
Some BPI clients were relieved to be able to withdraw the full amount after yesterday's chaos due to errors in the bank's internal system. However, some remains in ire because until today, they have not received the complete amount in their accounts, while some even lost more money. This is because BPI's banking system has not yet fully fixed, and the bank has decided to deactivate its electronic channels today. However, other transactions remain operational, such as credit cards and remittances, among others. The bank also extended operations in all of its branches until 7:30 p.m. today to accommodate their clients. BPI assures their depositors the internal system issues will be resolved at the soonest possible time and accurate account balances will be returned. Meanwhile, the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation or PDIC clarifies that their insurance does not cover lost bank deposits. The agency says only banks ordered for closure by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas are covered by their insurance of up to 500,000 pesos.
Kung meron pong ganito mga pagkawala ng deposito dahil sa nasunog, technical glitch, o even nakaw, no? Hindi po deposit insurance po ang sagot doon, kundi po sariling mekanismo po ng bangko para maayos yun.
PDIC advises to always keep a receipt, deposit slip, or any proof of transaction to claim whatever the depositor had lost.
Kung nag-withdraw ka, then keep that slip until you receive the statement of balance statement po to show na tama yung transaction.
PDIC is ready to accept complaints for them to investigate if there are irregularities in a bank's operation. Complaints and concerns may be sent to PDIC through pad@pdic.gov.ph or call 841-4630-231. Depositors may always visit PDIC's office at SSS Building in Ayala. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati.
The Manila Electric Company, or Meralco, will implement a more than a peso decrease in power rates for all its customers this month. Joan Nano explains why.
Call center agent LD Magdibag paid 3,000 pesos for his electricity bill last month. As his work schedule is night shift, he sleeps in the morning. Because of the hot weather, he uses air conditioner in his room the whole day, especially since he has a 5-month-old baby.
Medyo tumaas kasi yung konsumo ng kuryente namin, lalo ngayong summer medyo mainit. Kasi summer, minsan 24 hours ginagamit namin yung aircon. Lalo ngayon may bata kasi kami.
In line with this, Meralco has good news for its customers this month of June. The largest power distributor will implement a more than 1 peso decrease in power rates this month. This means power rates of households consuming 200 kilowatt per hour will go down by 285 pesos, while households with 300 kilowatt per hour consumption will have over 400 peso decrease. 571 pesos will be deducted for 400 kilowatt-hour consumption and more than 700 pesos for every 500 kilowatt-hour consumption. Meralco explains the reduction in power rates is due to the downward movement of generation charge. In addition is the refund recently approved by the Energy Regulatory Commission, or ERC, which came from the overcharge by Meralco to its customer in the past 3 years.
Makikita ng customer na mas mababang generation, transmission, at system loss charges. Lahat po ng sources ng supply ng Meralco ay nagtala ng mas mababang presyo, ang IPPs, ang PSAs at ang WESM charges.
Meralco says customers will have a refund until August, but adding it won't mean a continuous decline in power rates in the coming month. Meralco explains electricity rates will still depend on the movement of water power charges and even the value of the peso to a dollar. For some Meralco customers, the decrease in power rates this month would be a big help.
Napakalaking bagay na para sa amin, lalo ngayon na ayun nga, may bata, medyo malaking gastos namin, pamilya. May ipandadagdag kami para sa panggastos, para sa anak ko.
Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The anti-trapo movement files graft charges against officials of the Land Transportation Office today. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
Some land transportation offices officials are facing graft traps in connection with the procurement of driver's license cards with 5-year validity. The project has been awarded to Dermalog, Nextix, and CFP joint ventures, which placed a bid of almost 830 million pesos. This after Banner Plastic Card Incorporated, which placed the lowest calculated bid of 750 million pesos, was post-disqualified, same with Colonwell.
Para sa amin, yung 79 million is, will grossly disadvantageous to our government and to the Filipino drivers. No? We have 8.3 million Filipino drivers na magbabayad ng mas mataas kaysa kung hindi na post-disqualify yung unang bidder.
ATM Chairman Peralta adds that the driver's license cards do not contain the required security features, contrary to the requirements of the terms of reference of the project. He says LTO still proceeded to award the contract to Dermalog, although a request for reconsideration was filed by Banner.
Bago ka mag-proceed sa susunod na step ng procurement o ng bidding process, dapat i-resolve mo muna ang anumang protest or motion for or request for reconsideration.
Peralta accuses LTO officials of violating Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, Government Procurement Reform Act, and Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards. Included in the complaint are LTO Chief Edgar Galvante, Executive Director Romeo Vera Cruz, all members of the Bids and Awards Committee and the Technical Working Group, and COA Resident Auditor. Meanwhile, LTO Chief Galvante does not have a copy of the complaint and therefore cannot give any comment yet. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Office of the Ombudsman.
A lawyer for Mighty Corporation says the tax evasion complaints filed against the cigarette company could be due to business rivalry. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Mighty Corporation owner Alexander Wong Chuking submitted today his counter-affidavit to the DOJ. This as a response to the second tax evasion complaint against his company in relation to the alleged tax liabilities amounting to almost 27 billion pesos. The complaint was filed by the BIR after the discovery of fake tax stamps on Mighty cigarettes inside the company's warehouse in San Ildefonso, Bulacan last March. But a lawyer for the company says the search was illegal.
There was no legal justification for it. The evidence that was obtained is doubtful, questionable.
The lawyer also says they are ready to face the complaints and prove they are innocent of the charges. They also doubt the motive behind the filing of the cases.
Mahirap magsalita, no? But this could be due to business rivalry.
The BIR refused to say anything about the matter. Mighty Corporation is facing 3 tax complaints arising from separate raids of its warehouses in San Simon, Pampanga, San Ildefonso, Bulacan, and General Santos City. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chairman Danilo Lim appeals to hotel and restaurant owners to come up with a more suitable parking system in their establishments to avoid obstruction in the streets and solve traffic problems in Metro Manila.
Siyempre, isang dahilan kung bakit nagkaka-traffic ay yung illegal parking. Marami sa mga establishmento, napakadaming customer, pero wala namang parking enough para sa volume sa dami ng mga customers na nagpapatronize sa mga establishmentong ito.
The hotel and restaurant establishments also agree to have deliveries from suppliers be done during nighttime. This will be from 10 in the evening to 6 in the morning. The MMDA also extends its assistance to the hotel and restaurant industry for the application of stricter security measures in their establishments. Lim also offers to give free rescue trainings to the group to ensure their immediate response in any untoward incidents like the attack in Resorts World Manila at past midnight on Friday.
There is no stopping the Senators from shooting to the top as UNTV Cup off-season games continue. Bernard Daddies tells us why.
Balik kay Alinsug yung bola. Angelo on the alley-oop, yes!
The Senate Sentinels vows to intensify their play against the BOC Transformers on June 11 and express their support to Kuya Daniel's innovative basketball league. Senator Sani Angara and Joel Villanueva led the Sentinels roster.
Salamat sa lahat ng sumusubaybay sa UNTV, sa lahat ng sumusuporta sa Senate Sentinels. Mabuhay po kayo. God bless.
We're gonna have fun. So again, thank you and kudos to UNTV for this special league. Talagang saludo kami.
The Senators team showed last week that they can go up against other teams in the UNTV Cup Executive Face-Off. They even gave the DOJ Justice Boosters its first loss on June 4 with final scores 84-77.
Hindi, nagkataon sa mga nakaraang game, kulang tayo ng tao eh. Ngayon medyo kompleto. So, tamang-tama, hindi masyado napagod. Kasi last 2 games, kinapos kami sa 4th quarter. So ito, medyo may gasolina pa, kumbaga.
Great addition si Senator Angara dahil may isa pang pwedeng magdala ng bola. Isang leader na kahit na wala sa stats yung makikita mo sa kanya, he gives so much to the team.
On the other hand, the Transformers, led by the BOC Chief Commissioner Nicanor Valdon, expressed their commitment to the league despite their standing in the name of public service.
So this is for us a continuing commitment to the public service of UNTV.
Bernard Daddies, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Almost 100 amateur singers gather in Eastwood Complex this evening as Wish 1075 opens an audition. Monokson tells us why.
Audition for Wishcovery. Wish 1075's talent search kicks off this evening. Aspiring singers from different parts of Luzon as far as Quezon Province flock at Eastwood Complex in Quezon City to sign their applications. Wishcovery is an online singing contest which aims to discover singing talents from all over the country and develop them to become the newest online singing sensation. The search is open to all Filipino amateur singers, age 18 and above, and is not under any record label. The songs to be performed includes OPM music and variations of OPM songs and can be changed according to the chosen theme. Each contestant is expected to bring his or her -1 audio file. Total performance time must not exceed 2 minutes. Every entry should be registered with Wishcovery using an online form which can be filled out on the Wish FM website. The contest will run for a year, including auditions, weekly eliminations, and grand finals. 20 contestants will be chosen to move on to the competition proper. The grand champion will win 2 million pesos worth of cash and a record contract, 1 house and lot unit, and a brand new car. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
And those are the reasons behind the news, June 8, 2017. I am Victor Pasares sitting in for Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.